Donald Trump Jr.'s now infamous meeting with a couple of Russians in Trump Tower in the summer of 2016 was, quote, treasonous. That's not according to Hillary Clinton or anyone at the DNC. That is from former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon and his soon-to-be-released book called Fire and Fury. Bannon also called the meeting unpatriotic. As you may recall, it reportedly centered on getting dirt on Hillary. Bannon was not part of the campaign when that happened, but he suggests now that Don Jr. should have alerted the feds, and went on to say of a potential investigation, quote, they're going to crack Don Jr. like an egg on national TV. But this afternoon, the president responded in a blistering statement, which said in part, quote, Steve Bannon has nothing to do with me or my presidency. When he was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his mind. Well, this is going to be pleasant. Joining me now, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor Ari Fleischer is back. Welcome back, Ari.
Thank you, Kennedy.
Shots fired. Who started this one?
Well, yeah, you know that big red button that Trump was threatening to use, he just used it on Steve Bannon. I just have never seen a statement like that come from a president. That is a 2x4 to the head of a former aide. And I've got to say, this former aide, if he said those things, he deserves it. Who talks like that about somebody who gave you a job? Now, is there truth to what Bannon's saying? Let's all read all the excerpts, find out, see what he says. But I'll bet you, Kennedy, Steve Bannon is going to be denying those excerpts from those books.
Well, it's interesting because this book that's coming out, it sounds like a lot of it is based on Steve Bannon's narrative. And for a while, even in the Alabama Senate race, when the president and Steve Bannon chose different candidates for that special runoff, it seemed like, at least from both of their points of view, what they said publicly, that they still had a common aim, even though they had picked different candidates. And then the president, of course, later endorsed Roy Moore. When did this alliance fall apart?
Well, that's why I can't wait to see what Steve Bannon says, because I want to see, does Steve Bannon stand by it? Or is he going to deny, as other people have, since these excerpts came out, deny what's been attributed to them in this book? So let's give Steve Bannon a chance, hear what he says about it. But if these are bona fide legitimate quotes, boy, is Steve Bannon, I mean, how does anybody know what to think at this point then? Steve Bannon was a White House insider. He did see a lot of things. He did have a perspective on things. And if this is his point of view, it's going to be very troublesome for President Trump. Trump obviously has now given him the kiss of death. And made that statement and saying Steve Bannon's lost his mind. Let's hear it from Steve Bannon.
All right,
Have you lost your mind?
Where does the president's base go? Because obviously they're still very much in full support of the president, but they also have embraced Steve Bannon and his ideas, and they were protective of him when there seemed to be a rift in that Alabama Senate race. So where do the base go? Do they go to the president or to Steve?
Donald Trump is 100% right about this. This is Donald Trump's base. Donald Trump created this movement. Steve Bannon didn't. No aide does. No staffer does. This is all about the person who took the risk, put their name on the line, and ran for office. Whether you like them or you don't like them, whether you voted for them or you didn't vote for them. The movements in the country, it was Bernie Sanders' movement. It wasn't Bernie Sanders' campaign manager. It was Donald Trump's movement. And Bannon would be artificially inflating everything if he thinks this has anything to do with him. If Steve Bannon was that popular, then why isn't Roy Moore the senator from Alabama?
Because he is an alleged child molester, I guess. So let's talk a little bit about where do we go from here? Does Bannon have the power to undo this presidency? Does he know where the bodies are buried? Does he have the kind of insider knowledge that is so important for a president to keep quiet that now the lid has been blown off of Pandora's box? Is the president going to face holy hell?
Well, that's why this really comes down to Steve Bannon, his character, his honesty, his integrity, and who knows what any of those factors are. I don't know Steve Bannon. But, you know, if it's true, then Steve Bannon has an obligation to stand forward, say it, and say it on the record, condemn the man who gave him the job, condemn Donald Trump, and stand as other people have done in history. Scott McClellan did that, for example, and to Scott's infamy. Let Steve Bannon stand on that ground, to Steve Bannon's infamy, if that's what he thinks, and let people judge whether Bannon is right or Trump is right. But I predict to you what's going to happen, Kennedy, is Steve Bannon's going to deny it.
Yeah.
I think he's going to say that those quotes were fabricated. He didn't say them. It's not true. because the movement is going to abandon Steve Bannon.
Well, you already have another close friend of the president who was quoted in the book as saying, and this is Thomas Barack Jr., a billionaire who's known the president for years, was quoted in the book as saying he's not only crazy, he's stupid. Barack has said, the quote attributed to me by Michael Wolff is completely and utterly false. I have never been interviewed by Michael Wolff. So if Steve Bannon does the same, that may be the kiss of death for the author's reputation, but maybe great for book sales. It sounds like quite a page turner.
And there's also a part in the book where he says that President Trump didn't know who Speaker of the House John Boehner was. And that's already been shown to be false. The two of them played golf together before the president was the president. And so there's things in that book that are just not going to wash out as truth gets told. So we'll all have to read the book. All we know now is a 23-page excerpt that was put out by New York Magazine.
Sure. And
we'll all gravitate. And if you're interested in politics, these things are riveting. You want to see what's being said, who's saying what. But I still think after that Donald Trump statement today, where he just eviscerated, destroyed Steve Bannon and left him dead on the field, Steve Bannon needs to pick himself up and let people know, is it true or not true? Did he say these things?
Very good, and I'm sure we will find out very, very soon. Ari Fleischer, thank you so much.